Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about rural America? Or what?
Well, I see what you did there, Johnny. I actually really love it. We're going to talk about Nazis on meth.
Oh!
Not to be confused with Nazis on ice. They are two different things. But yeah, essentially, or I live in Brazil, Indiana, so it could just be Brazil, Indiana. This is about my hometown.
Not Nazis on meth, hometown episode. Okay,
yeah,
so
so
meth
was a hometown episode.
Meth was invented or made big by the Nazis, right? Something like that.
Both. Yes.
Okay.
So imagine you're little old Germany,
Yeah.
and you're trying to invade a foreign country, and
Yeah,
your
sehr gut.
leader. Sehr gut. And your leader, he likes to partake in the opiates. You know, he likes his morphine to take away the pain at the end of the day, and some cocaine to bump him back up to wake him up. You know how that goes. So and
Coffee and NyQuil.
Coffee, NyQuil. So his idea is, we're just gonna give our soldiers methamphetamine, and that'll get us to take over Poland in a couple of days. And yeah,
Did it work?
Well, sort of.
I'm sure we'll get to that. But so this was during when they were doing their Blitzkrieg stuff, or was this separate?
Yes. This is
This is how
basically
they did
the Blitz. Yeah, this is primarily it takes place between 1939 and 1940. It goes all the way back to the occupation of Czechoslovakia. But that was more the Germans were bringing the shit from home and happening to use it. It wasn't actually officially sanctioned by the German government.
So they were already using methamphetamines and then just brought them with them as pick me up in the field or whatever they needed.
Yeah, pretty much. So in order to get to where we are in World War II, I want to paint a whole picture of Germany leading up to World War II and their illicit drug manufacturing, because it is a history that I didn't really know about until digging into this, trying to figure out where all this stuff came from. So before, during the Great War, and leading up into World War II, German pharmaceutical companies created a lot of miracle drugs.
Yeah.
So think about the United States in the Wild West, where we started putting cocaine and alcohol in everything.
Yeah.
Well, they did. They took it a step. They took it a step further, and a lot of this stuff was actually over the counter. So German pharmaceutical companies are responsible for a lot of the cocaine that was in the world at the time. They are also the inventors and responsible for heroin, and
didn't know.
And also helped out with the morphine invention.
Which kind of that goes hand in hand with heroin, right? It's essentially
morphine.
Yeah.
And they were all big onto it. In the manufacturing, so much so that actually there were several years where the largest exporter of the cocoa plant from Colombia was Germany. So
doing good business then. All right.
They are doing some good business.
Well, also German chocolates are really good, so they use the whole plant then, I guess. Or I don't know how it really combines, but
maybe
same thing, right? Something like that.
Well, I think that was.
Is it not just
cocoa
it's not the
same
powder?
plant.
Not,
I think it's.
No.
I think
cacao or something.
No, that's it's cacao, but it's a different. It's a different
one.
A different plant.
Like pot and hemp.
Yeah, a little bit of a different plant there, Johnny. So after the loss of World War I and the really awful treaty that they signed or were forced to sign. The German people were a little sad.
Sure.
And what better way to pick them up than cocaine?
Than a stimulant.
So
a highly addictive stimulant at that.
So while in the 1920s, the United States was wrestling with that whole prohibition thing, and we're like, alcohol is bad, me and you are sitting here day in, day out consuming our alcohol on camera.
Well, so during all that, Z Germans were going the other way with things.
Yeah, they were going
And
the
look
other
where
way.
and look where it led to them. So maybe prohibition wasn't off on the wrong foot.
Well, maybe. So they were definitely into, and this was over the counter. Like, you could get cocaine, no problem. You could get heroin, no problem. It was the Roaring Twenties in a completely different way in Germany than it was anywhere else in the world. Now, by the mid-20s, most of the rest of the world had said, yeah, we can't, cocaine's probably a bit too much for the general population.
Turns out, this is highly addictive. People are doing crazy things to get more of it, and it's expensive, and they're running out of their money, and so they're, like, I don't know, robbing places and doing
heroin's
whatever.
Heroin's not great either. So maybe you should stop doing that. So by 1930, the world powers that be kind of forced Germany to rethink their strategy here and to make most of these substances illegal. So
they're suddenly making illegal a bunch of highly addictive substances that everybody was taking anyway.
Yeah, and of course the pharmaceutical companies that were making an ass ton of money hand over fist by producing this for the general population that couldn't get enough of it. Well, now all of a sudden they weren't.
Oh, you know what? I'll bet they'll find a way to make their money through highly addictive legal means
Johnny,
now.
It doesn't take long because this large pharmaceutical company in Germany that is now limited by these pesky laws started experimenting with ways to get around said laws. Well, heroin is illegal and cocaine is illegal, but what about something that's synthetic that's not chemically either of those two things?
Right, yeah.
There's no law against that.
Different.
So what's the problem here? So there was a pharmaceutical company by the name of Temmler, which was experimenting with one of these synthetic drugs, which was not listed on the banned substance, and that drug became methamphetamine.
Oh. So I thought you were gonna go like morphine or something like that, like something that we use today. But no. So because
they went the opposite way, they went uppers.
Yeah. So because several drugs that are obviously illegal today were legal and then made illegal, they made another drug that then obviously became illegal down the road somewhere.
Down the road
to replace them.
We got to wait for a couple of years for that.
Well, sure, right, but eventually. It wasn't. It didn't turn out to be the long-term solution.
No, not quite the long-term solution. One of the doctors that was working at Temmler was Dr. Fritz Hauschild, who was working for Temmler and developed a non-crystalline strain of the drug called Pervatine. So basically, he took what was crystal methamphetamine and made it just the methamphetamine, not crystallized, and made it in tiny little tablets that look like Altoids, so to speak.
They use their little. Yeah, they use their little generic pill presses that they have.
If I can find a picture, if I can find a picture of it, I'll put a picture of it up here. And he made Pervatine as a wonder drug, a cure-all drug. This drug was
a Wunder drug, I'm sure.
A Wunder drug, so to speak. And it was marketed to the general population. It became so much in favor of housewives because, well, hey, watch our 1950s episode about housewives on amphetamine. Yeah. And, well, the Germans beat us to the punch in the 1930s.
We got around to it. Yeah.
We did get.
And guess what? When you're high on amphetamines, it makes cleaning a lot easier. Days go by quicker.
And one of these popular means of taking Pervatine was actually a 5-time dose. So they took Pervatine 5 times concentrated and put it in a tiny little chocolate that they like to serve the housewives. Little tiny chocolate methamphetamine delicacy.
That's fantastic. Because everybody knows how much women love chocolate and they need it and crave it. And so then you give them chocolate that will allow them to, keep your home better, I guess, or whatever.
Right? So
faster,
now we see
anyway.
How, at least, faster is right. Or at least you could just stay awake for like 40 hours straight. Who cares, right?
Doing whatever, anything.
So how do we get it to the military scene? So we know how it's on the civilian scene.
Right.
We talked about it a little bit. Like some of the soldiers were just bringing it with them from home.
Well, civilians military were once civilians before they joined. So.
Sure were, but in official usage here, I have to talk to you about Dr. Otto Ranka, who in 1937 was the head of the general and military physiology in Nazi Germany. His role in Nazi Germany was to find basically trinkets, inventions for the soldiers to help their everyday life. So bulletproof helmets, little goggles for the tank drivers,
Okay.
dust masks to keep the dust
All
and
the
stuff
things
out,
that,
gas
that
masks.
people don't think about, but that are necessary when you're actually out there. The fine detailed stuff.
Yeah, gloves, all that fun stuff.
Okay.
Things I wish I would have had right now because it is freezing in my studio because my studio is just a corner of my garage,
just a
right off the
garage.
just right off the highway, which is why you always hear motorcycles and cars and pure jackass debauchery.
Well,
Anyways,
you know what? I'm guessing if you had some of the methamphetamines that the German soldiers had on hand, you would care less about the cold.
I probably
And so maybe
I
that's
probably-
why it started to come into popularity, right?
Probably. And by 1938, Dr. Otto Ranka is excited about the possibility of Pervatine. He's seeing what it's doing in the civilian market, and he decides to begin testing on recruits. He picks 60 recruits from the German Wehrmacht and says, "All right, I'm gonna make you guys stay awake for between 40 and 50 hours and give you various tasks to do, all the soldiers." In true, actual scientific fashion, he did have a control group that got nothing, a group that got caffeine, and a group that got Pervatine.
Okay.
And he found out that after this experiment, the soldiers that got Pervatine, not only were they still awake
Excellent.
after this 40 to 50 hour stint, they were ready to go out and party. It's like, oh, we're done with our daily task. Time to go to
go.
Oh,
yeah.
They're having it up. They're ready to go.
Have you ever stayed up? What's the longest amount of time you've been awake?
Longest time I've been awake was back when I was working security, and my relief didn't show up for first shift, and then the relief didn't show up for second shift, so I had to work 24 hours straight, and I was up. Like 3 or 4 hours before, so I think it was right around 30 hours.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was
awake
thinking.
total.
That's same. It was a 30-ish hours that
I was done.
Oh, I hit the bed and just I was out for
Like
a
24
day
hours.
and a half or something like that. It was insane.
Yeah.
That's a long time. That's why I'm guessing the people with
the
the
people on
placebo and the
caffeine,
caffeine were both
yeah,
just
they
like
were
dragging and
heads,
down.
heads down on the desk,
Yeah.
sleeping.
Well,
They were out of it.
because caffeine, like your body has caffeine receptors that eventually will kind of fill up and turn off, and like so you can ingest a certain amount of caffeine, but eventually drinking more coffee isn't going to actually do anything to help your body. I'm guessing there's less of a effect like that with meth.
Yeah. So he concludes that hey, one of the biggest weaknesses that you have as a soldier is fatigue. You know,
absolutely.
And he said that the last 15 minutes of the battle are the most crucial because, well, that's what always usually decides the battle. And if you're falling asleep and not alert, well, you're less likely to win said engagement. He also found out that he made them do various tests, like read books, fill out do a comprehension study, all that fun stuff. He found out that methamphetamine does not make you smarter. The Pervertine
Shucks.
did not help with brain power at all, which he concluded was a good thing, because what it also did is lower your inhibitions and what I like to call your give a fuck. Pervatine made you not have any fucks to give.
It turns you into a drunk college kid.
It turns you into a drunk college kid,
essentially,
who's not smart and will do whatever you ask him to do without any thought of repercussions or consequences.
Boy, I just cannot understand why the German army would be so interested in such a drug.
Miracle drug for the German soldiers.
Hey, and the best part, it's highly addictive, and so they'll just keep coming back asking for more, and you can have them do other things too. It's fantastic.
So he contracts with the pharmaceutical company Temlur, and he creates what is called the assault pill, which is essentially just a higher dose of the civilian Pervatine for his soldiers.
So he did the test with the Pervatine. He's like, okay, it was good, kept him up 50 hours, but let's go with Pervatine Max with 3 X's at the end. It's gonna be amazing.
So, like I said, in the first little bit of it was just soldiers bringing it from home. But by the time of the invasion of Poland and into the invasion of Scandinavia and France, they were actually issuing German soldiers Pervatine
Okay, now
in mass.
was this a like a provision for them, or was it a necessity to take it? Was it like they were offering them cigarettes? Right? Here, we have them if you want them. You don't have to smoke them. Here's your meth. You have it if you want it. You don't have to take it.
I think they gave them out in mass. There was a specific order where they. So when they're invading France, the first part of the invasion of France, there is the order to go sleepless, which meant you're all. I mean, they're all taking Pervitin.
Yeah. So essentially, it wasn't here. Here's your ration. Take it. But it was. Okay, you're going to have to be up for the next 50 hours. We have this in case you need it, in case you're falling asleep and tired. And, of course, they all needed it, and so they were able to take it.
35 million pills were distributed for Poland.
How big was the German army?
Not 35 million.
Well, no, but it was several million, right, at least?
Yeah, but not 35 million.
Yeah, holy cow.
Each soldier had quite a few pills that they could take.
Well, and I mean, that army is also not all soldiers that did have to stay awake and take them. So, like, it was mostly the front lines taking it. Because there's a lot of people in the army that are doing radio stuff and administrative type work that probably aren't taking it, but maybe.
The ones that are out in the back lines that are killing the undesirables.
Yeah.
Although they were taking Pervatine because, well, we'll get there.
Because you might as well.
Well,
if the government's going to offer you free drugs, you take it.
So right now, you all might be sitting...
That's a message for the kids right there. Is if somebody offers you drugs, take it, because drugs are expensive.
Yeah. So you might be wondering at home right now,
really,
like,
though.
Well, what's the...
Just
what's the...
disclaimer.
What's the bad thing? Yeah, we don't encourage drug usage. At all.
No.
Not in the slightest.
Especially not
Especially
Hey,
alcohol.
Alcohol's not a drug, Tommy. It's illegal in the United States. Not a drug. Just like caffeine.
Well, hell, and just like
just like meth, apparently in Germany,
if
1940s.
you go to Washington or Washington today. So, in any case, you might be wondering at home, like, this sounds what's the bad? Like, you're just giving me all the good. It seems like a wonderful thing that the Germans did this.
Well, I mean, it made their blitzkrieg successful. They were able to.
And it was.
What's the downside?
We took, Germany took Poland in like a month. France was taken in a couple of weeks. Like,
and they couldn't have done it. They weren't going to do it without this.
Because of the use of Pervatine and going sleepless in France, they were able to bypass large chunks of the French resistance and get to the point where the reinforcements, the reserves, weren't able to be brought up in time. So it really did. I mean, Dunkirk wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have got the entire army surrounded at Dunkirk if it wasn't for either a larger force or, not sleeping for 3 days.
All right, well, hit me with your DARE presentation, because what's the downside
All right, here's a DARE presentation. So you know how we were talking about how we stayed up for 30 hours and then, like, we slept for a day and a half?
Yeah, crashed.
Yeah, same thing happens with meth, but way worse on Pervatine. Way worse.
When you start coming down off these drugs, those are like the videos that you see in like cops and stuff of these drug addicts just losing it, going crazy. They're coming down.
Yeah, they're not.
Like, it's not them in their euphoric high. They're on their way down, crashing.
The low lasts way longer than the high.
Yeah.
To the point where. Think of your worst hangover that you ever had. If you've had a hangover, I don't think we should have any listeners under 21. But if we do, and you have a hangover, because I know you probably did anyways, because at least half the kids in Brazil are drinking. Picture that, and then times it by like 10, and that's the hangover you have coming down on Perverting.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but also with drugs like meth, I believe that it's you reach that euphoric high on the first go, and then every other one, it's harder to get up to that bit, and so that's what they call chasing the dragon, chasing the high, whatever the case is. And so you get that first go, and then it's just after that That's what you care about now.
Yeah.
Is getting back to that, not I have to go fight this war or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they ran into. There's
They
a
were running
whole
into
bunch of
They were running
super
into-
tired, lazy
Yeah.
soldiers now that just wanted to do drugs.
Yeah, after the invasion was over, you had soldiers that were just sleeping for 4 weeks at a time. Like, oops, we can't have that. It also causes circulatory issues and heart issues.
Right.
Which,
yeah. Naturally,
which
there are
left,
downsides.
Yeah, which left the absolute majority of the soldiers that took Pervatine in worse physical shape after they took it than before they took it. So there is a net gain, net cost kind of thing.
Right.
And the costs are now kind of looking like
Yeah.
they're outweighing the gain.
Yeah,
of those
so
couple of
initially
days
they
of
went,
goodness.
oh, look at this. This is pretty good. This
Awesome.
is going great. And then it's like, oh no. Oh, that's a valley.
Yeah. And then there were the accidents.
What? What do you mean?
So they
Like
to
driving
give-
accidents or?
Yeah, well, but instead of driving your Ford Pinto or your Honda Civic,
Yeah.
you're driving a Panzer tank or a
Which,
a Messerschmitt plane.
okay,
you
but
know?
all right. Well, correct
So-
me if I'm wrong, but driving a tank drunk or high on methamphetamines has to be safer than driving a car. For you.
But for you, for the
Yeah.
person in it.
Yes, for
yeah.
me as a person
for
who's driving.
For the soldiers walking around said
Not
tank.
the same. Not quite
Not
the same.
so. Not so much. Or if you're the pilot trying to take off in your BF 109 and you're a little high.
Yeah. Do we have like a death count of?
No, I don't have a specific
Oh,
death count on how
man.
many it caused, but their official Nazi reports were that it increase Luftwaffe accidents tenfold because they were giving Luftwaffe pilots
Tenfold?
tenfold. And they were
Holy cow.
giving the Nazi pilots Pervatine, and they were also giving the tank drivers Pervatine,
Right, yeah,
truck drivers Pervatine. Everybody was having Pervatine.
Everybody
Everybody
gets
had
it.
it. And there were some whoopsies. Like you mentioned, that chasing the dragon, that also happens here. And there was no restriction on how much Pervatine you could take.
Right,
So
yeah.
naturally speaking, there are soldiers that were like I really don't want this. Like after they took it the first time, they're like,
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah, like
That-
like any drug, alcohol, any type of experience trying new things, there's going to be people that it doesn't
Yeah,
mesh with,
just
and
like
they're not
there-
going to want it.
There are your soldiers in World War II that didn't smoke cigarettes in the American forces, but every soldier was given a carton of cigarettes as they were
Yeah.
leaving.
So,
a
yeah,
lot
so
of
they
those
just
soldiers
give
were
it
just like,
away,
hey, I don't need
yeah.
this, give it away. So they were giving it away to people who were like, Pervatine! I need the
would love
Pervatine!
some,
I would
yeah.
love some! And they're taking handfuls at a time. Like, oh, one's good. How about 5? Ah! And, you know,
welcome
naturally,
to giving an addict unlimited access to their addiction. Like, it's free, and you can just have all you want. They're going to go nuts on it.
So naturally, there were a few overdoses and a few
sure.
hearts that just kind of went.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Hey pal. I'm done. Clocking out. That was a little too much. Maybe you should have stopped after the 5th pill. You know.
Yeah.
The 7th and 8th was a
so-
little unnecessary.
And then a really unpredicted consequence was, have you ever watched those? If you ever watch Cops, do they have Cops on the air anymore? It's live
So
PD now,
okay,
isn't
so
it?
it's
So-
transitioned to live PD, but actually during all of the BLM stuff, they kind
They got rid of
of stopped doing. I don't know if it's back on yet, but it just kind of went on. It went dark for a little bit.
And that's probably a good thing in some degrees because, well, if you ever watch Live PD or Cops and you've seen that tweaker who got a little aggressive
Yep.
with everybody,
Right.
yeah, that's kind of a normal thing that
Yeah.
happens.
Right?
with-
They're out of their gourd, and all they
Yeah.
care about is whatever getting more or wherever they're at in their little fantasy world.
And that's really awesome if you direct that anger and hostility at the enemy.
Yeah, if you're able to focus it. Right.
Not so cool if you get mad at the buddy sitting next to you because he looked at you the wrong way. And you pull
like
out
your fellow soldier.
you pull out your sidearm and you shoot him in the face. Yeah, there was a lot of aggression that came with methamphetamine or Pervatine that definitely oopsies.
Well, and here's the thing anyway, spoiler alert about the Army, especially in this time, mostly dudes, mostly alpha male type, kind of get
Yeah.
aggressive. They like to fight, like to roughhouse and everything else. So
Now give him meth.
which normally that's fine. Like that's you whatever you fight a little, wrestle a little, whatever else. But yeah, you get that on drugs, and now all of a sudden they don't know the stopping point, and that anger is real. It's not like a playful, comradey type fight.
Yeah, and then there are the hallucinations.
Really, I wasn't aware of hallucinations with methamphetamines. I guess I lack of sleep, right?
Yeah, you can go into a psychosis state with hallucinations, which I'm sure part of that's got to be lack of sleep.
Isn't it like 36 or 48 hours staying awake, sober even, you can start to hallucinate.
And the average Pervatine usage would get you in Ranka's studies, he found that average you could stay awake for 50 to 60 hours, on Pervatine. So
that's
so you're damn
almost
near
3 days.
Yeah, you're 2.5 days awake straight.
Holy cow.
And there were certain side effects to that, such as the enemy's in the bushes and they're coming right for us. Ah! And then there was nothing actually there. And then
well, I'm guessing there was a small bunny or something that ruffled some leaves.
Maybe. And then when the enemy comes later that night or the next day, and you go,
where's my ammo?
Oh, I don't have any bullets.
Sorry, I shot. There was movement in a bush, and I thought that person needed to be loaded with all 180 rounds loaded in this, and whatever. I don't know what gun could do that, but
there's so many. That's not very many bullets, Johnny.
Isn't it? Okay, I don't know. I don't know this stuff.
100. Yeah, Johnny doesn't. For you at home, Johnny is not a shooter. 180 rounds in like a German machine gun, the MG42 would be about like a half of a second.
Oh shit! So like they had like 36,000 barrel like rolls, or thousand barrel rounds or something.
Yeah, the MG42 I think was around like.
Was that that's the long clips, right? Like the long
belts,
magazine belt, whatever.
They have belts. Yeah. The MG42, I know people are going to correct me at home. I think it was around 2,000 to 3,000 rounds per second.
Yeah, correct us if you.
Or not second. No, minute. Sorry, minute. 2,000 to 3,000 rounds a minute.
Wild.
Yeah. So you can't, when you hear one of the guns go off, you can't actually distinguish the individual bullet.
Right. That's where like all the screaming comes from. Yeah, like the.
Yeah. So that gun usually had 200 to 500 round belts. So.
Okay.
Yeah, 180 is not.
Well, there you
much.
go. But in any case, that was all wasted into the bushes and not ready for the now incoming
enemy soldiers. Or on the less fun side. Oh my God, they're coming right for us in the bushes. Oh, Fritz, was that you? Shit. Oh, God.
I told you 5 minutes ago I was going to the bathroom. Said I'm going to go right over here in the bushes. I'm going to go take a piss. And then I'm going to come back. All right? Please don't shoot me. And what do?
Yeah, they shoot him. So Dr. Lear Conte, he was the Reich Health Führer because, we're in Germany, in Nazi Germany, and we have to give everybody some kind of title. So
yeah, sure.
The Reich Health Führer decided that, maybe Pervatine's not the best thing to be giving to our soldiers.
So what he did was he actually started weighing the pros, which obviously there are some, versus the cons, which obviously there are way more than.
Yeah, there's definitely a few of those. And Dr. Ranka in 1940 admits that, my research, turns out I really didn't do much. It was just those 60 dudes. It was like
60 people is a pretty low number for a study.
It was like a day, and I didn't really pay attention to any possible side effects. I just looked at I got tunnel vision, guys. It's my bad. I saw lots of positives. And I wasn't aware of the negatives.
So just garbage scientist doing garbage science because he didn't monitor the effects after. Like the reason vaccines take so long to develop and release is because you have to monitor the people afterwards for years down the road. Yeah, typically. So none of that. Not even a couple of days though is a thing. Like he's not even like, okay, so they took it and then they slept for 48 hours now? 50? They're still asleep. It's been 3 days.
Ranka himself even took Pervatine and was like, yeah, this shit works great. But he should have known, you would have seen the side effect yourself, buddy. Like within that, at least 1 week, you would have noticed. Oh man, I don't
Kind
like
of
the way I
tired
feel
after
that.
this. Yeah, it's kind of rough, huh?
So Ranka was like, yeah, maybe we should stop. And then of course the reports coming in from the field were, yeah, you should probably stop.
Not going well, guys. Yeah, they're pretty bad shape over here.
Yeah, the end
Everybody's
result.
in pretty rough condition.
Yeah, the end result of the doctors speaking out against said Pervatine caused the German military and the Wehrmacht and all them to go, yeah, you're right. We should
Oh,
probably stop. We'll only give it to specialty soldiers. So like long bombing raids, we'll give it to those pilots so that they can stay awake. Or if you have to be like, on whatever that is,
so
on patrol or whatever at
so
night.
they started using
like,
it way more just like no-dos for truck drivers instead
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this is for everybody to make everybody stronger, faster, better soldiers, super soldiers, essentially.
And they were so serious about trying to control this that they reduced their pill purchase from 12 million pills a month down to 1 million.
Oh,
They're still
boy.
purchasing 1 million pills of Perverting a month.
Well, see, that's not even where I went. I went to the people who are going to really, really want more of that. And
We're not gonna
now
have it.
they're not gonna get it. Like they're not they're not gonna care about anything else.
Yeah, there might be some ramifications in that one. So you might be asking yourself at home, although Johnny didn't go this way, but I did, where did that 1 million pills of Perverting a month go? And the answer is pretty much to your Waffen-SS, because apparently when you murder innocent people, including women and children, and just shoot them in the back of the head or
Right.
put them in gas chambers or all the other fun
Yeah.
ways that they did that, you tend to feel like you get little grumblies in your tummy.
Oh.
And it makes you feel weird.
What?
and you
Where's
don't
this
like-
coming from?
Oh
Whoa.
no, it hurts. So
Every
when-
small child I shoot in the back of the head makes it worse. I don't understand. If only there was something to numb this pain.
And that was Pervatine. It was super common for the people on the death squads to be jacked up on Pervatine the whole time because it made it easier to,
Not think about
Murder.
reality.
murder people. It's not war where somebody's shooting at you. It's cold-blooded, calculated
But like
murder.
slaughter though, like it's even worse than murder. I think
Yeah,
they're
well, yeah.
slaughtering. It's
Well, though I think the word you're looking for is genocide.
Oh,
It
is that what it is?
genocide?
yeah. Well, attempted. I don't think they were
Yeah,
successful.
They didn't kill the entire
They're no
Jewish
America.
population.
They're no America or Christopher Columbus.
Cherokee people. Do-do-do-do-do-do. We have a song about our genocide.
We
Oh.
have sports teams named after the people we genocided.
We did have sports teams named. It is now the Washington football team, Johnny.
Okay, right, yeah, and the Kansas City Chiefs and the
that
Atlanta
could- that could-
Braves.
Hey, that could just be referring to like, hey, Chief.
Hey,
You ever heard that? Hey,
what-
Chief.
So
It's a
what's
term
that
of endearment
Arrowhead
for
all
kids.
about then? Arrowhead Stadium, Tommy. Go ahead and continue down your line of just trying to defend this. But in any case, that's off topic.
It is off topic. So now I want to end the episode by pointing out that the Germans were not the only ones to use
The Germans did nothing wrong, is what you want to say.
to use Pervatine. Although the other, like most of the Allied forces and most of the Axis forces use some type of amphetamine
Sure.
based substance for soldiers. But again, that was in specialty roles. The Americans, for instance, we used it in our long flights, like B-17s and B-24s. Those big, long
No-dos.
distance flights. We used that. It was, in fact, we used it to the point where it was in their food ration. Like, you open up your can of food, and it's, hey, here's my can of Spam and my dose of Pervatine.
I'll tell you what, man.
So,
If you're going to have me eat those food rations, I'm going to have to be high on methamphetamines before I eat them.
yeah. You like my wife, man. She doesn't get along with the apocalypse meals.
Oh, no. I've always said, big proponent of if the apocalypse happens and it really is like that whole end of world type. You have to survive on your own. There is nothing to provide for you. I'm out.
Yeah, end it down. Yeah.
Bye.
I get you.
Tommy, I'm going to have to borrow one of your guns that you got laying around, but you can have it back.
You just need one bullet?
Just one.
Gotcha. In fact, we also had it in some of our emergency life rations, like emergency rations.
That makes sense. Like I feel like I know there's all sorts of negatives and it's not great, but I feel like there are situations where it's gonna be something that's good to have on hand if you need it. If
and I know
you get attacked by a pack of wild cats or bears in Russia, you're gonna want some amphetamines to try to fight them off. Gonna give you a better chance.
I know up until recent history, and they might even still use it in long flights. I know up until recently, the Americans were still giving out some type of amphetamine for long flights or for like these emergency situations.
Yeah, I'm guessing it wasn't just meth, but it's another stimulant that's similar.
And to clarify, it wasn't
fewer downsides.
It wasn't. It was more like speed, less like.
There you go. Yeah, see, modern meth.
No dose.
Yeah. All right, that's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about Krampus.